Hello my friends and welcome to Three-Legged Dog Yoga. If you are new here, I am Lindsay, and if you are unfamiliar with the channel, I do some videos on posterior pelvic tilt, which is what today's class is. If you are unfamiliar with what posterior pelvic tilt is, I'll leave a couple links in the description of videos that I have created that are yoga based to try and help ourselves with posterior pelvic tilt so we can kind of get a little bit better posture and maybe avoid some issues later on in life. That all being said, if you do enjoy today's video, please do subscribe. It helps us bring more videos to more people. And today's class, as said, is for posterior pelvic tilt. It's going to be slow moving, lots of emphasis on the pelvic bone and how it moves, lots of bent knees. You may need some blocks and a strap. Sometimes, again, if you have done some of my other classes, you might need a rolled up blanket. It's always nice to have nearby. But other than that, let's get right to it. Let's begin today at the back of the mat. So before we start, let's just widen the legs, bring our hands to our hips. I just want to feel your pelvic bone. So feel as it tips forward and as it tips back. And just know that for us with PPT, it typically speaking leans back a little bit. So today I want you to try and focus on bringing that pelvic bone to neutral. So imagine there was water in the whole bowl. It's a big bowl. We don't want to tip the water out forward. We don't want to tip it out backwards. And so let's sit up nice and tall, and let's just do that a couple of times. Let's just arch the back and then round it. Kind of like a cat-cow, except for we're sitting up. And just feel those hip bones. Feel how that pelvic bone moves. And then finding stillness, let's sit up nice and tall. So with that nice relaxed belly, let's just walk forward, coming into our child's pose with wide legs, relaxing the head down. I'm just taking a moment here. Let's just find the breath. We'll be talking a lot through today's practice to make sure we're focusing on our pelvic bone, but let's make sure we also keep a focus on the breath. Very important as we move through yoga postures, to really move as we breathe with the breath. Inhale, press through those hands, come up to tabletop. Hands are underneath the wrists, are underneath the shoulders. Hips are over the knees, toes are stacked. Inhale, arch the back, look up. Exhale, round it out from the navel. Gaze comes to the navel. Inhale, arch the back, start at the lower back, right at the tailbone. Exhale, round it all out. 3 more just like that. So inhale, start from the tailbone. Exhale, round. And last one here. Come back to neutral, walk the hands forward as far as you can, and then drop the chest down to the mat. Doesn't matter how far you go here, coming into extended puppy. You want to try and keep the hips over top of the knees, and then we just relax the chest down as we see fit. Over time, you may be able to reach the chin to the mat, but we're not super worried about that today. Whatever's comfortable. If you'd like to relax the forehead on the mat, you're welcome to do so as well. Keeping that breath nice and full. Press through those hands. Walk them back underneath the shoulders. Wait for the inhale. Raise the right arm up nice and high. Exhale, thread it underneath the left. Find the right cheek to the mat. Keeping those hips keeping those hips square. Press through that left hand. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale here. Inhale, left arm comes up nice and high. Exhale, thread it through. This time the left cheek comes to the mat. Again, checking in with those hips, making sure they're not shifting to one side or the other. Press through the hand on the inhale, come back through center, and we'll walk the hands forward, send the hips up for downward facing dog. So really bend through those knees, pedal them out. And what we want to avoid here is rounding the back too much. So sometimes when we reach our heels to the knees, the lower back rounds. So what we want to do to correct that is bring a big bend into the knees, and then like we did at the beginning of practice, really press that belly towards the thighs. And then you can work on straightening the legs over time. So let's just draw those heels down. You can feel that arch in the back, or sorry, that rounding in the back, and then bend through the knees. Draw that belly towards the thighs and see how you can feel the difference. This is also a really nice one to practice in front of a mirror if you have one, because you can learn how the pelvic bone feels when it's in the proper position. So let's inhale, gaze between the hands. We'll just walk the feet up. Inhale to halfway lift. Big bend in the knees as we exhale to fold. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to fold. Nice generous bend in the knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step it back. Drop down to the knees, chest, chin. Inhale, come up through cobra. And then exhale, send the hips up for downward facing dog. Once again, we'll just start pedaling. And then bend through the knees. Draw that belly towards the thighs, and then eventually send those heels towards the floor. Again, it doesn't matter if your heels touch the floor or if they do not. I'm going to try to keep that nice inverted letter V and keep the round out of the lower back. A couple more breaths here. Really pressing through those hands. And then inhale, gaze between the hands, step up, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step it back. Your choice, either bringing it down to the knees or coming through your chaturanga. We're just going to come down to the belly. Stay down at the belly. Let's bring the hands out nice and wide. And on the inhale, roll the shoulders up. Pressing through the pelvic bone. Drawing that chest forward. And then exhale down. Do that a couple more times. So inhale, roll those shoulders up and back. Press through the pelvic bone. Tops of the feet are pressing down. And then exhale down. Last one. Inhale, roll the shoulders up and back. And exhale, come all the way down. Hands come back underneath the shoulders. Press it up for your downward facing dog. Big bend in the knees. And then slowly straighten them. Inhale, gaze between the hands. Step or hop up. Halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands through heart center. Awesome, so let's grab one of our blocks. Actually, we'll grab both of our blocks, that's a lie. And let's just place them at the top of the mat, probably on the highest setting. We'll take a big step back with that right foot, drop that knee down, come into a low lunge. So untucking the back toe. I'm going to reach for your blocks, have them a bit closer. So we're going to sit up nice and tall here with the belly. So I'm going to keep that focus on the core, keeping our bowl of water nice and still. So you're welcome to grab your hands in the front and back or just on your hips, and then sit up nice and tall. Inhale, arms come up. And then as you exhale, you can crawl that front foot forward a little bit more and sink into those hips, but we want to avoid arching and rounding the back. So we're keeping that core engaged, belly's drawn up. Exhale, hands come to the block. Let's send the hips back for a half split. Come onto the heel, draw the toes towards the shin. Inhale, come up nice and tall. Keep a nice generous bend in that front knee, and then we send our chest forward. Keeping the knee bent. You should be able to feel this pretty quickly. Anytime our hamstrings are involved, they're usually pretty tight. That's okay. They'll loosen up over time. And then inhale, let's just plant the foot, walk the blocks up overhead, tuck the back toe. We'll just bring it through a little vinyasa. Keep it a little spicy. Making our way to downward facing dog. And then inhale, stepping up. Exhale to fold, and inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart center. And we'll switch sides. So this time, taking a big step back with that left foot, drop the knee down, untuck the toes, check in with that core, nice and engaged, and then we inhale, arms up nice and high. Shoulders roll down. Keeping a spot to focus in the front of you. And then as we exhale, let's just grab our blocks, send the hips back. You might need to shuffle that right foot forward a little bit. Toes draw up towards the shin. Bend the knee. Inhale, roll the shoulders back. And then exhale, we reach the chest forward. Playing with the block height. This will change from day to day and over time, so not to worry if you're high one day and low the next, and then high the next. Each day is different. And inhale, let's plant that foot. Walk the blocks ahead of us, and we'll come down through a vinyasa. Finding our way to downward facing dog. This time, let's walk our hands back towards our feet. Inhale to halfway lift, and then exhale as we fold. Let's bend into the knees, almost as though we're making a shelf for the belly. And then grab opposite elbows and just gently sway side to side. And so this is a good place to start. Might seem counterintuitive because we all want to bend in half. This is a great place to start to really get a handle on how that pelvic bone should be attached to the thighs. And over time, as we get a little bit more flexible, our muscles get longer and stronger, we can start straightening the legs. As we inhale, let's slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time, releasing the arms. And finding your way up to standing. Let's just take a big step back to the top of our mats. We're going to grab one of our blocks on the widest edge, hold it in our hands, heel toe the feet out. Heel toe the feet out to the wide edge of the mat. Toes are pointed outwards. Let's inhale that block out ahead of us. And as we sit down, we're going to place this underneath us. So let's inhale, stand up nice and tall. Exhale, bend, sink through the hips. And just kind of like a pendulum, we're just going to place that down till we find Malasana or Yogi Squat. Sitting up nice and tall here. And so for some of you, this might not feel like you're going far enough into the squat, but the idea here is that instead of rounding through our back as we get lower, we're keeping that back nice and strong. So you can see how quickly it becomes rounded if you're not paying attention to it in this position. So for all intents and purposes, today we'll sit on the middle edge of our block. Sit up nice and tall. Let's bring the hands to heart center. If you'd like, you can also press outwards with the hands, kind of create a little bit of resistance, make it a bit spicier. And then we'll exhale. Let's just roll off of that block down onto the mat. So we'll grab our strap, have that close by. And let's sit back in Dandasana. Now for this one, naturally, it's easier to just sit like this, to just round through that back. But since we're trying to correct this, I'm trying to make it easier for us to just sit down. Take a really big bend through the knees. Inhale, that same motion as we were doing before. Let's try and glue the lower body to the thighs. Sit up nice and tall. Place your hands beside you. And then we slowly work on straightening the legs. And you can probably feel this as much as I can. This is a big ask. This is hard. It's not super simple. So another option you have is your strap. You can place it over the balls of the feet. Again, keeping those knees nice and bent. Sit up nice and tall. And we're doing the same thing, except for this is with the strap instead of our hands beside us. And over time, we'll work on bringing that chest forward. So as we bend through the knees, we can reach that chest a little bit more forward. And then we can eventually work on straightening the legs. Inhale, let's come out of it. Keep the strap around that right foot. Let's draw the left sole of the foot to the inner right thigh. Coming into Janu Shirshasana on the right side. So you may need a strap here, you may not. But what I want you to do is round through that back and then inhale. Sit up nice and tall. So we really feel that lower back is nice and straight. And then we just draw the chest forward. Just gently tugging on that strap, bringing that chest forward. And again, you can keep a nice bend in the knees here, whatever feels good. Pinching and pain should not be a thing, but a little bit of a stretch, good stuff. Inhale, reach up, and then exhale, release the foot. We'll switch sides. So right sole of foot comes into the inner left thigh. Let's draw that strap around that left foot. Once again, let's round through that back. Inhale, sit up nice and tall as we kind of arch it forward almost. Chest comes up nice and tall, and then exhale, we reach our chest forward. Again, gently tugging, gently playing tug of war with the foot. So that foot presses forward, and we're slowly just gently tugging ourselves forward. A little bit of resistance here. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Release the foot. Let's place the strap to the side, and then we'll shuffle forward, coming down onto our back. Feet stay underneath the knees. Inhale that right foot up, cross it over. Come into a supine figure four. Inhale, bring that left knee up towards you. And what you want to try and work on here is keeping that pelvic bone pressed towards the floor. So even though we may be able to reach our shin, because our flexibility in our right leg allows it, we're drawing that whole sacrum, that whole lower back off the floor. So let's try and drive the sacrum down to the floor as we draw that left knee towards the body. And you'll feel this almost instantly. And then exhale, drop that foot down. We'll switch sides. So with this time, inhale, left foot comes up, cross it over. Bring that right knee up towards the chest. And again, press that sacrum. Really press that sacrum down to the mat. And you can feel how it adds a stretch to the outer hip of the left foot almost instantly. So we're keeping the stretch nice and big, but we're not pancaking the lower back on the floor, on the mat. We're keeping a little bit, just a little baby arch in the lower back. I'm trying to keep the natural curvature of the lower spine. And then exhale, release that down. Let's bring our hands out, either beside us, out wide, or in cactus. Shift the hips over to the left side, and then just draw them. Eventually we're going to work on stacking the knees, but for today, let's just draw the knees over to the right, letting them fall wherever they may. Maybe adding on by taking the gaze over that left shoulder. And then inhale, Let's come back through center, switch sides. So hips shift over to the opposite side, and we'll draw them towards the left side this time. The knees, sorry, fall over to the left side. Bring that gaze over the right shoulder. And then inhale, come back through center. Let's draw the knees into the chest. Draw the head up towards the knees. And then we'll place our hands behind the thighs and slowly rock up to seated. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's, for one last time, put the hands on the pelvic bone. Make sure we're sitting up nice and tall with the pelvic bone. Roll the shoulders up and back. Take a big inhale. And exhale, sigh it all out. That's all for today's practice. I hope you learned a little bit about your pelvic bone, and we'll see you next time.